Supporting refugee students in schools. International law identifies a refugee as a person who is unable or unwilling to return to their country of origin due to persecution or well-founded fear of persecution on the basis of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. The United Nations Refugee Agency reports that as of early 2022, there are 26.6 million refugees worldwide. UNICEF estimates that in 2021, more than 40% of these refugees were children under the age of 18. The purpose of this presentation is to understand the trauma often faced by these children and families and to identify ways that schools can best support refugee students. While every individual's experience is different, refugee students and their families are likely to experience trauma prior to leaving their country of origin, during displacement, and during relocation as they settle into their new homes. Many refugees fled their country of origin due to violence related to war or persecution. Oftentimes, children have been victims or direct witnesses of such violence and may have lost loved ones as a result. They're also likely to have been separated from family members, friends, and communities, and to have experienced lack of basic resources, including adequate food and clean water. After fleeing their homes, refugees are likely to experience displacement trauma, including separation from familiar people and places. They may experience difficult travel and poor treatment as they find temporary residence in refugee camps. Refugee camps can produce additional stress related to limited resources, crowding, and poor conditions. Refugees may face harsh treatment and potentially detention. For refugees applying to enter the United States, the screening process takes an average of 18 to 24 months. Once approved, the process of resettlement itself can create traumatic stress for refugee families, as they must figure out housing, transportation, employment, and education enrollment in their new country. Additionally, many refugees experience acculturation stress and isolation stress as they adapt to their new environment. Acculturation stress is the stress that comes from adjusting to the culture of a new place. For many refugees, language and cultural barriers can lead to confusion, misunderstandings, and conflict. The desire to maintain one's cultural identity while also fitting into the new environment can create tension and stress, and also lead to generational conflict within families, as young people may be quicker to adopt cultural practices of their new home. Many refugees also experience isolation stress, a sense of loneliness that can result from the loss of one's community and social status, as well as experiences of discrimination or harassment in the new environment. Schools can play an important role in helping refugee students manage trauma and acculturation in positive ways. This is especially important in light of a study that demonstrates that difficulties after migration, such as acculturation and isolation stress, can be more predictive of mental health struggles among students than the traumatic experiences that took place prior to migration. For refugee children, a large part of acculturation is adjusting to school life. While each child will respond differently to their experiences, there are several common ways that refugee trauma can impact students in the classroom. Many refugee students will have had limited or significantly interrupted education and may have difficulty adjusting to a classroom environment. Refugee students are likely to experience difficulty with behavioral and emotional regulation and may struggle with attention issues. Traumatic experiences may produce physical symptoms such as trouble sleeping or frequent stress-related headaches and stomach aches that can impact students' readiness for learning. Older students especially may also experience feelings of guilt, shame, or helplessness. Additionally, refugee students may struggle relationally and with lack of trust. As educators, we know that it is important for the basic physical and psychological needs of students to be met first before they can thrive as learners. One important strategy for schools looking to assist refugee students is to partner with local resettlement organizations and mutual aid alliances to help establish access to basic necessities for all refugee families. These partnerships can also be leveraged to build bridges between schools and refugee communities that can help provide families with agency within the educational system. Beyond physical safety, psychological safety is incredibly important for all students, but may be especially lacking among refugee students who are likely to have experienced broken trust in the past. There are a number of strategies that can be used by educators to develop trust with refugee students and their families. Trust begins with relationships built on genuine care and interest. One specific strategy that can be used for this purpose is a question of the day strategy, in which students are presented with a fun, open-ended personal question at the start of each day and given the opportunity to share their answer, either out loud or in writing. This allows the teacher to learn about each student and provides a jumping-off point for future one-on-one connections with each student. Another strategy that helps build trust is to rethink discipline. While teachers often have set consequences for certain negative classroom behaviors, it is likely that perceived misbehaviors by refugee children could be trauma responses or merely the result of cultural misunderstandings. Rather than jumping to punitive consequences, educators can build trust with refugee students by taking the time to have private, one-on-one conversations that seek to understand the behavior before determining what the appropriate consequence or course of action is. Teachers can also develop trust with refugee students by providing them with opportunities for choice and agency. Teachers can develop lessons that provide students with choice regarding the topics they will explore and/or how they will demonstrate mastery of the content. This allows students to choose options that demonstrate their strengths and can be especially helpful for students who are developing language skills. Agency can also be established by providing students with opportunities to talk about their goals and dreams and providing meaningful validation of student and community strengths. Beyond establishing trusting student-teacher relationships, educators can support refugee students by helping them build trusting and positive peer relationships. These relationships are important for creating a sense of community and a feeling of welcome that can help combat the impact of isolation stress. Educators can help students build peer relationships in a number of ways. Within the classroom, teachers can use cooperative learning activities to encourage intergroup communication and relationship development. Including fun icebreaker-style questions that help group members get to know one another on a personal level at the start of a group work activity can further encourage these positive relationships. Schools can also help foster peer-to-peer relationships through after-school clubs and peer tutoring or homework help groups that provide students with opportunities to work together in a variety of contexts. Finally, educators can work to build trust not only with refugee students, but with their families as well. One way to do this is by making intentional home contacts to report positive observations of student behavior and work, rather than waiting until a problem arises to reach out to parents or guardians. This communicates care for the child and establishes relationships with families on positive terms. It is also important to work with professional interpreters whenever possible and demonstrate respect for home culture and values. All students benefit from a safe and trusting school environment. But for refugee children who often carry significant trauma into the classroom, this is even more essential. By making choices that intentionally support refugee children and their families in these ways, schools can help create positive and hope-filled environments where refugee students are embraced by the school community and supported in establishing and reaching for their dreams.